Monsignor, thank you so much for joining us today
My
on
pleasure.
Currents. We really appreciate it. We're talking about strategic planning for the diocese and all of what that means. Talk to us a little bit about the strategic plan that the diocese is now looking at in reality as we look forward to 2010.
Sure. This is all about the gospel. This is all about the gospel mission and how can we best take it on the road in the 21st century. And basically what the bishop has done in his pastoral, which has been released this week, is to call everybody to a conversion of heart, to look into ourselves, look into our hearts, and to see the Lord's presence there calling us to use our strengths and talents and resources at the service of the gospel.
And we know that the diocese, the parishes are generally facing a 40% deficit, and we know that they're not able to meet their ongoing needs, 40% of them, correct? Is that right?
Well, there's recently, the most recent figures show that about 40% of our parishes do not have enough ordinary income to meet their ordinary expenses, and of course that can't continue. The irony is, though, is that most of our ordinary income comes from the worshiping congregation.
Sure.
And the irony is that if our churches were as full as they were built to be, occupied by, in other words, twice as many people, we wouldn't even be having this conversation.
Sure. The reality is that, you know, there are perhaps fewer people in the pews right now and fewer people.
We're not selling our product,
Yeah.
to put it in business terms.
Well, the evangelization part of it, of course, is a lot of what the bishop outlined here, and that's part of what we're about here at the Net, the new evangelization television aspect. So we're trying to reach people in that way too. But the deficit of the diocese at around $8 million a year is a reality that we're facing.
Yeah, and much of that, and that's the ordinary expense, but much of that is in assisting parishes and schools.
Sure.
The diocese has historically done much to support parishes and schools that can't make it on their own.
Right, as was forgiven, right, about $120,000 in 2000.
Back in 2000, yeah, about $120 million debt, absolutely, yeah.
And parishes still, though, are looking to the diocese to help supplement their ongoing expenses. But the issue there is that that can no longer be done, really, in a realistic way. So what does this mean for people's parishes then at this point, for their schools
what it
and
means is
parishes?
this. First of all, let me come right out and say that there's no list, you know, because nobody wants parishes to close. The bishop doesn't want to do that. And we know there have been some places in which there have been studies done, maybe sometimes not known to the people. We're making this a part of involving every parish in this. We're asking every parish to take a good inventory on themselves, spiritually, financially, and those untangible things. To take a look at what are our resources, you know. Are we using them to the best of our ability? How can we make better use of them? The reality is that those parishes which really have facilities that are not usable anymore are relatively small. So what we really have to look at is, are we using our human resources best? You know, does everybody feel involved in the mission of spreading the gospel?
Sure.
The more that heats up, the more we fill our churches and the more we resolve a lot of our resource issues.
A lot of the issues. There have been some questions, if you will, from people in the diocese. Will my parish close? Is there already some sort of list out there that would say, you know, this one and this one and this one? Are we doing all of this for nothing, this self-inventory, this intake? What's your response to that?
Understandable. I mean, the question is really is that as parishes take a look at themselves, is there anything they can do in order to perhaps make better use of their resources? You know, and again, everybody's saying our young people, you know, it's noticeable in a week, maybe 47, maybe the median age is around 47, I don't know. Ash Wednesday, a lot of young people in church.
Sure.
What attracts the young people at an event like that? Why aren't they there on Sunday?
Right.
You know?
Well, it is clear that the whole idea of the strategic plan, renewing the mission, is in fact to go back to what it is that brings people to faith, brings people to the church.
We want people to, and you know what? It's not a question of just asking people to come to us. We want to go out to people.
Sure.
We want to move from seating to sending. We want everybody to know that they're invited to hear this great news of the gospel. And particularly people that may feel alienated from the church, may for whatever reason, you know.
Well, like that Catholics Come Home campaign that I interviewed someone about the other day, Tom.
Yeah.
What we're looking at, though, does involve finances, and it is sort of a very, you know, black and white issue when it comes to dollars and cents at the end of the day, of which the evangelization is certainly a part in terms of people and the faith. And praying about it is certainly a part of all of that as well, an action that we can take, and thinking about those things with the self-inventory. But in addition to that, there are going to have to be some decisions made.
Right.
What's the time frame that people are looking at? What are the next
Well,
steps?
the first stage of the strategic planning process, which is beginning right now, will move, first of all, for a series of self-studies in each parish through May, after which there will be a review by the Diocesan Planning Commission and its task force, which is going to go through them and see what the parishes are saying about themselves. And then recommendations will be made to the bishop at the end of the summer, and in the fall he'll make some decisions regarding about what can be done about different parishes. We don't know how that's going to turn out because we have to first of all see what's there. You're right, the finances are a part of it. You know, it's what we call discernment, and the process of discernment always means looking at reality. What are our financial resources? What are our human resources? And how are we growing in our parishes? Are they doing the job that parishes are supposed to do?
Sure.
Evangelizing, social services.
It's taking on personal responsibility for every individual and also every individual parish and school and branch of the diocese in its own way.
Everybody has a role to play.
Sure.
Every person has a role to play. There's no such thing as a foolish opinion.
Right.
And we want to hear the vision of every person about what the church should be and how we can get the gospel out.
Monsignor, thank you so much for joining
You're welcome.
joining us, I should say, on Currents Today to talk about this important issue.
My pleasure. Thank you.